Hey guys, I'm Stephanie, and this is Steph's Stove, and today we're making chocolate chunk muffins. Now you absolutely could make these with chocolate chips, but the chocolate chunks make them even better. So these are easy to do, delicious, hot out of the oven chocolate muffin goodness. So let's get started. All right, to get started, we are going to first mix our dry ingredients. So for our dry ingredients, we are going to need some all-purpose flour. Let's get my White Lily all-purpose flour here. If you have this in your area, I would highly recommend you getting it and using it. If you don't, you can order it. You can get it places. But White Lily flour is kind of something that's used in the South. Not because it's just a very light flour. Super nice. It's usually the #1 preferred flour, especially when making biscuits and such. I know it was my granny's absolute favorite. All right, so we have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And then we're going to add to this 1 cup of granulated sugar. Moving stuff out of the way as I do them. Then we are going to add some baking powder to this. So I've got the baking powder here. We're going to add 2 teaspoons. You can use this little measure here to level off your baking powder. Love that. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Likewise, you can level it off nicely up there at the top. I like to use those extra nice little things because they just make it handy. You don't have to get a knife out or something. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm using regular table salt for this. Not anything special out of the ordinary, just regular old salt. All right, I'm going to give this a good mix to incorporate everything. You don't want a big clump of salt on the top. Run that around. Then we're going to add our chocolate chunks. Now I said earlier in the intro, you can use chocolate chips. I'm using semi-sweet. These are chocolate chunks. And if you can see the difference there, they're just little chunks. We're going to use a cup. And that actually is probably 1 or 2 over a cup. But who's counting? And you always want to go back in there and kind of stir your chocolate chips or chunks, whichever one you're using, into your flour. It just allows them to be coated. So that way in your muffins, these don't sink to the bottom. They're kind of equally distributed through the muffins, which is what we want. All right. Now with that being said, we're going to set that to the side. I'm going to change bowls over here. And now we're going to start with the wet ingredients. Got our dry side to the side. So now we're going to move over to the wet ingredients. So I'm looking for my liquid measure here. And when you're measuring things, liquid measures go in cups, dry measures in measuring cups like that. So we are going to use here, we need 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. All right, so about 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. Get all that shook out so we get every bit of it. Then we need some melted butter. I melted this a minute ago trying to be sure it's not still too hot in here. This is 1/3 cup of melted butter. Let me use this to get all this out. Get all of our butter out. Now the next thing we're going to use, we are going to add buttermilk to this. Now I generally make my own buttermilk. So if you don't have buttermilk, you can look. I'll kind of somewhere up here. I'll do a recipe link or a video link where you can see how to make buttermilk. You can do it several different ways and in several different methods. So for this one, it calls for, I'm kind of watching the measure there. This is 3/4 cup of buttermilk. Since we had that oil in there, that buttermilk slides out nicely. Push that to the side. I got a little bit left for another recipe before I have to make some more. That's going to make awesome. Move that to the side. And then we are going to add to this some Greek yogurt. Now, you can use whatever brand you like. This is my favorite. It's too good. It's kind of lower in sugar. Got a great flavor to it. Pour that extra liquid off of it that was on the top. Just a great, great flavor there. So, for our yogurt mixture, we are going to use 1/3 of a cup. And again, you don't have to have, this is vanilla Greek yogurt, so it's going to give a little bit more of a vanilla flavor. You would traditionally use a plain, but I don't normally buy plain Greek yogurt. I like the vanilla, so that's what I'm using. 1/3 of a cup. To the side. And we need 2 eggs. You always gotta have eggs in a recipe. And if you know, I love to crack my eggs separately. So I'm gonna crack these one at a time. I'm gonna whisk these together. Put them in the wet mixture and go ahead with the second one. Again, this is just, some people say, just put them all in. If you ever get shells in there in your product and you say, well, you have to be careful cracking it, it can happen to anybody. It's not necessarily, anybody can have to, or your egg can just be bad. I know I've had several people comment, when I've said that, and they're like, yes, I've got some bad eggs. Some people said they got some that were had a black tinge to them, which is a little scary. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but you don't want to ruin all of your recipes. It's easier to throw out one egg than the whole batch. Alright, so we're going to mix this together. Let all that incorporate. Kind of be gentle with this. You can use a whisk. I'm just using the same spoon that I had. Break up that yogurt and make sure it's well incorporated in there. And you want to be sure this is mixed well, because you do not want to over mix when we add to the other ingredients. So kind of take your time if you have to, and make sure this is well incorporated. Now, I did add vanilla Greek yogurt, is the one that I use traditionally. If you can, you'd use plain, but I'm also going to add some vanilla to it. I'm going to add my vanilla extract. And if you like, you can see I made this vanilla extract last year. I had a video I'd recently posted where people asked about it, so I went ahead and added how to make it. This is going to add a tablespoon of vanilla extract, so that's available if you'd like to check it out too. It's a great thing to make ahead. Woo, boy, did that smell good. Great thing to make ahead for the holidays. Blend our vanilla extract in there. Alright, let me give us a second, move this to the side, and then we'll start incorporating the two. So let me move these over and I'll be right back. Alright, now I'm going to take this out. I'm going to mix this one more time, our dry ingredients. I'm going to make me a little well here in the middle, and I'm going to take our wet ingredients and just combine it into the dry. All of that out. Good smelling stuff. All that vanilla. Ooh, that smells so good. Yummy. And now, when you're adding this in, you want to mix just to blend it. Do not over mix. So once you see your mixture coming together, that's when you're going to stop. Don't over mix. So I'm just going to blend this together very carefully. Until I don't see any more of the flour, that it's nicely absorbed. Let's see what it looks like here. Pretty, got a little flour still on the bottom, so we're going to be sure to grab it. So I'm going to scrape really hard from the bottom as I'm folding it around. And again, who doesn't like chocolate chip muffins? Now, this used to be my daughter's absolute favorite. She would even, it's kind of one of the first things that she would be making when she started making things. on her own. She'd get up on Saturday morning, like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm making chocolate chip muffins. It's like, oh, a lot of times she used chips. Yummy. I couldn't wait for them to get out. And it was even nicer that she made them as well. All right, I've got my muffin pan over here, just a regular 12 count muffin pan, lined with the nostalgic little pastel colored muffin liners. Got a little scoop here, so I'm going to scoop these out. And this is about, I think about 2.5, 3 tablespoons. Just going to make a nice mound in here. And you want these about, if you're doing this with a regular scoop, you're not doing it with this type of scooper, you want them about, I would say about 3/4 of the way full. So this one, like I said, I believe this is 3 tablespoon one. Sometimes I have to look at all 3 of them together because they look so close, especially if I'm using them independently. The 2 and the 3 tablespoon do to me. Maybe not to you, but I always think they do. I have to kind of hold them up next to each other sometimes to see which one's which. And depending on how much that you scoop in there, again, if you do a little less, you might get a little bit more, little bit less. But this is going to make about 12 to 15. So mine's probably going to make about 15. So let me go ahead and let this sit for just a minute. I've got my oven is preheated. As you can see, I've got them all nicely scooped out here. I've got my oven preheated. We're going to start this hot. So my oven is preheating to 450 degrees. I know that sounds like a lot, but we're going to cook these at a really high heat for just a few minutes and then drop it down. So let me wait till my oven preheats and we'll be right back. All right, our oven's just come up to temperature. We had it preheated to 450 degrees, and we're going to put this in here for 6 minutes. And after 6 minutes, we're going to drop the temperature to 350 degrees, and it's going to cook for an additional about 18 minutes or until a toothpick inserted comes out clean. So see you back in a few minutes. All right, these have been cooking 18 minutes, additional from our original 6 minutes. We'll pull these out, and I'm going to use the toothpick test to test one of them to be sure they're good. And we're good to go. All right, so let's take these out. Look at those pretty, pretty muffins. Aren't those beautiful? So we're going to take them out, put them on a wire rack, and let them cool, and we'll be right back. I'm Stephanie, and this has been Steph's Stove, where today we made these beautiful, look at this, chocolate chunk muffins. Yum! They're so pretty, they smell so good. So, I'm gonna grab this little beauty out. I'm gonna crack him open and eat it. So, I know some of you are saying, oh, those little things, I love these just little, I call them like little Easter muffins because they're all in pastel colors, so pretty. Look at that, oh, look at that big chunk there. Yum. And break him apart. Oh. Look at that on the inside. Gorgeous. Nothing like chocolate. Oh. Look at that. That's delicious. Oh. The chocolate in there. The flaky muffin. The little crunch on the top. Oh, I think it'd be better. I got a nice cup of coffee already. Perfect for my muffin. On a cold day, what could be better? So, I do hope you make these muffins for your family as well. There's nothing like a sweet treat. There's no bad time of day to have it. Any time of day, breakfast, lunch, snack, just make it because it's cold. They're wonderful. So, remember, I'm Stephanie. This has been Steph's Stove. Give us a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button for more great content like this. Steph's Stove, we're making memories. One dish at a time. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you have a wonderful night and stay